is our first, career. This thing. Actually, I being a parent, of a student who is pursuing commerce, I felt the necessity what to do, because being a science student, we all are lost. The internet is full of information. The world is full of opportunities, but still we feel, the information is ocean. There is always a need for an expert to guide us, to handhold us. So let's start today. I'll just brief about Sanjana Sharan. Okay, Sanjana Sharan, she's a Samat alumni. Okay, and okay, and proper. She completed her BSc in Mathematics Honors from Kirorimal College, University of Delhi. Delhi, one of the topmost university. Everyone will crave to get an admission over there. Okay, and she has experience as a data analyst. She was an entrepreneur and currently working in MetLife with Dubai, in Dubai. So everyone's dream to go abroad and work. So for me, commerce, I think it's all about money. I don't know much about it. So let us understand what is commerce and the career options in commerce. So let's start with Sanjana. Sanjana, after Sanjana, then Supti will brief us about counseling, the psychometric test, and career options in abroad. So Sanjana, you can go ahead. Thank you, Sanjana. Before,
Definitely.
yeah, you can start
Yeah.
your presentation.
Thank you. So actually, being in school when I was scoring good marks, I was also told by my teachers and my principal to opt for science. But knowing my interest area and knowing what I am interested in, I didn't want to do engineering. I didn't want to become a doctor. So that was the main, and I, like you said, it's all about money. So when we are thinking about money, and when we are thinking about doing business or marketing and sales, or if you want to achieve a career in accountancy, then definitely people should start opting for commerce. Don't just go by marks. You have to know what your interest areas are. So I wanted to share a presentation also. I will.
In 90s, when we were just passing our school, what used to happen, if we get more marks, then we used to go for science. If we get less marks, we used to go for commerce.
Yeah,
So the judging was that. Now, hopefully, that has gone, and we will, know about more opportunities here.
definitely. People have started understanding the importance of doing commerce, even arts. It's not like if you're getting good marks, then you should only opt for science, or only you have two career option as an engineer or a doctor. Now you have so many fields. You have you have data analyst, you have digital marketing, you have so many other fields that you can excel in, even financial analyst. And I'm going to talk about one or two career opportunities that I don't know if you've heard about. So it would be a great discussion if people are thinking about pursuing such courses. So Sneha ma'am, is it okay if I share my screen and presentation right now, or you want me to do
You
it
can
on a later stage?
share and talk on that. Can you just check you are able to share?
People, you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Yes, Sanjana, we can see.
Great. So I have added a saying by Carlton Fisk that it's not what you achieve, it's what you overcome. That's what defines your career. So many people, they never achieve what they want in life because when opportunity knocks, they're still sleeping, dreaming, and waiting for a miracle to happen. You know. So I want people to identify opportunities and take control of the decisions that you're making. So, with that thought, I would like to talk about the various career opportunities that are available to commerce students. So, the most popular and the most common graduation course is your Bachelor of Commerce. Some people also like to, the most common is your CA. They want to pursue a professional course like a CA course. So they find Bachelor of Commerce to be the best complementary course with CA. So I also want to tell students that don't opt for only a professional course like CA. If you're doing CA and not doing a graduation course, then I would advise against it. So I would advise that, if you're feeling that you have some financial limitations, or you don't feel like attending college will become overwhelming with CA, you can go for SOL or IGNOU, which is open learning for all students. So you can manage your time as well, and you can also pursue both the careers in BCom as well as CA. But CA is not the only option, right? Not everyone is interested in doing CA. So we have other professional courses as well that I will talk about.
Over here, you said we can pursue both the career parallelly, but when we can start CA while doing BCom?
Yes, you can do this parallelly. After 12th, you are allowed to give the CPT exam. So once that is the entry level exam for CA, once you give that CPT exam, you can also pursue a CA course as well as your BCom course.
Okay. So I have been coaching students for CPT exams, and that is much easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
The entry level is definitely easier. It's when you start progressing in the later stage, people find it very difficult to pass the other stages. That's when people start feeling low if they do not have a backup plan. Like if they have not done any graduation course, they feel lost. Like what could be the next step? So that's the reason it's highly recommended that you do a graduation course with the CA course. The next really popular coming is your business administration, bachelor in business administration. It is also like a professional course, but it is available as a graduation course. So people are opting for business administration and then going for MBA. You can do MBA anytime, but this is the most popular choice right now. You can also do Bachelor of Economics, Journalism, English, LLB. And LLB, most people have this idea that you can only do it after graduation. But LLB, you can give your CLAT exam after 12th, and you can start the integrated courses that is offered by some of the universities. So it's not, you do not have to wait for 3 years, and you can also save 1 year if you're doing LLB right after your 12th. So people who are interested in law, they should right after 12th opt for an LLB course. Now, if you're a student who has taken maths with commerce, then you should definitely go for a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics or a Bachelor of Science in Statistics. These are really booming industries, and maths is required in almost every field, even if you're going in finance. So maths is uh, really upcoming, and most you can say wide scope of careers are available for mathematics students. You can be a professor, you can, like Sneha ma'am, you have also done mathematics honors.
Always I'll be telling learn math and it gives your personality. I agree, I am obsessed about that. But still, if you're good at math, it shows on your face. That's my saying.
Exactly. It also actually develops your personality in logical reasoning. So I have not done maths just because I wanted to, learn numbers, but it's also a personality development throughout the process. Your logical reasoning starts working, and you can give so many competitive exams. So definitely, mathematics honors is also a really popular course. But in this competitive time, I feel that just doing a graduation course is not enough. Like I have only completed my graduation in mathematics, and I still feel that there is a need to do another professional course. So you can do a professional course while you're in graduation, or you can do it after your graduation. So I would like to ask people who have joined us today, like what are the professional courses they are thinking of pursuing, if they are thinking of pursuing. Can anyone jump in, tell me? Let's have some interaction.
People are able to mute yourself. Can just check. Sanjana, Bachelor of Commerce, this is a category. Again, there are many subcategories, isn't it? Bachelor of Commerce.
In graduation, it's Bachelor of Commerce, you have pass and then you have honors. So people who are doing pass have a lot of subjects, but then honors is a more specialized, you can specialize, say, in accountancy or in business studies. So it's advisable that you go for a BCom honors. So honors is a more reputable, you can say, graduation course than a BA pass.
Okay, if there are any questions in between this, they are most welcome. We'll just take one
Yeah,
and proceed. Okay, no, I say no questions, then you can just proceed, Sanjana. Okay.
yeah. Okay. So, CA is not the only professional course that we have. You have company secretary also. So people who are interested in the legal side, they can pursue a company secretary course. There is a certified financial planner. People in this area can go into financial planning, retirement, bonds, banks, mutual funds, insurance industry as well. The most like upcoming course is your chartered financial analyst. So what I have seen in Dubai at least, that a lot of companies want CFA certified people or MBA in finance. So it has gained importance and a status as similar to an MBA finance. So if people want to do MBA finance, but sometimes they're not able to get the right college, like they want to do it from IIM or they want to do it from abroad, Harvard or the Ivy League colleges, and they're not able to, get admission right after, then they can definitely start a CFA course and pursue their careers. They will have a similar kind of a growth as an MBA finance. So this is a very interesting. I don't know if people are aware. And actuary, I really wanted to talk about what an actuary does. I don't know if people have heard about this. So, is there anyone who has heard about actuary and can tell me what actuaries do?
For me, it is completely new. I was not knowing
Okay.
till now you have mentioned.
So yeah, that is one of the reasons. Like I wanted to talk about actuarial science. My brother, if you remember Sneha ma'am, Shubham Sharan, he is actually pursuing actuarial science from Malaysia. So it's one of the booming careers, and people do not know about this, and they are highly paid jobs. So what actuaries do is they use mathematics and statistics, and they actually do the risk management of the companies. They work for insurance companies or risk management companies, and they use these probability and statistical tools to analyze the risk of a client. So it's very mathematical and it's very high paying job, and the demand for actuaries is increasing. So we have Institute of Actuaries of India that provides this course. So I want everyone to actually Google and see the career path as an actuary, because it is the highest paying job in the world, and it has a demand which is increasing over the years and not decreasing.
Okay, here Rohit was right. He said risk management. Okay, by seeing all these, professional courses, how can one understand? See, now we are lost being parents. We don't know what our kids are interested into. Okay, so now either we'll go for a graduation course, then this professional courses come. So what is the talent that we need to understand? He has to pursue this. After that, he has to pursue this. Can you just quickly brief if this is a talent? As you told about actually, I know your brother. He was very smart at studies. Quick pickup. He was very
Yeah.
smart actually. His pickup was very. His logic was good. Everything. He was very smart. So I can understand that he took actually. But can you just brief? These are the talents you can go for this. If this is there, you can go for this. Just to understand what talent you need and how your interest is generated in something, any of the
Yeah.
courses.
So I was just wondering, like, how do I explain, like, if you ask someone in front of you, like, can you tell me what are you interested in? No one is going to say they're interested in studies, right? So you ask to make it simpler for everyone. I thought maybe I should ask them what is the subject that you can concentrate more on. Okay, because when for me, when I was studying history, honestly, I used to sleep. So, asking yourself, like, what is the concentration power you are able to generate in a subject? Okay, when I'm doing maths, I will forget everything what's going around me. I will just be solving the questions. I will not be able to sleep if I'm not able to solve one particular question. So analyzing and asking this honest question from yourself, it's not like I am like in love with maths or something, but yes, I do have an interest in maths. So understanding what exactly are you more interested in? If you're interested in a more theoretical sort of a like law, people can actually study and mug up everything, because law is all about mugging up. So if you are good at mugging up, you can remember and recall texts that you have studied, then definitely you can think of a career in law, or company secretary also has a legal requirement. And if you're good with numbers and you like probability, you can think of chartered financial analyst or actuary. If you want accounting and taxation, then you can go for CA, or CPA is also very similar to a CA course. So I think these are some of the questions you need to ask yourself. What generates interest in you?
Okay. So this is very important, self-realization, analyzing self, what you are good at. And all this
Yeah,
happens when you deeply get involved in the actually your subject. Okay, there's a
exactly.
question here. What's the
Exactly.
difference between CA and CPA?
So it is quite similar. The pass rate will differ in CA. CA is difficult to pass, but CPA is a little easier to pass. And also CPA is recognized worldwide. Also, sometimes in US and Canada, people are using the word CPA more than a CA. So very minute differences, but almost similar course.
So the main question is coming over here, the salary.
Yes,
CA salary is also higher in India, right?
yes. Salary of a CA.
Yeah, they're asking CA salary is highest. Or in all the professional courses, what do you feel? Which one will fetch a highest salary?
Highest salary is an actuary. Then the highest salary will come under chartered accountant. Then highest salary under chartered financial analyst in CS. So almost similar, depends upon how you're progressing and showing your talent also in a company. So it's not just, if you're not interested in the course and you do that course, then you will not be able to move forward.
Okay. So I also actually believe that, if the salary depends on your capability of performing,
Yes.
it actually depends on you can, there are people who are doing the same job and getting less salary, and there are people who are doing the same job and getting the highly paid. It's all depends upon what is your, involvement, what is your capability, and how interested you are doing the work, and what difference you are making in the job.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
There
Any
are
other
also
question?
courses in Insurance Institute of India that you can pursue as an underwriter. These are some technical courses that people can look at. So it's not always about going with the crowd and getting into the competition. Sometimes you do not want that much of competition, and you can still excel in one of the fields. So then you can think of other professional courses also. So similarly, just wanted to list down all the international professional bodies that people can pursue if they want to study abroad or live abroad and settle down. So there are Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment. You have Chartered Insurance Institute, which is a UK body. ACCA is also very similar to CA. So you have a lot of choice. Even if you're interested in accountancy and you're not able to crack CA, you can take these complementary courses. You can do a CPA, you can do a ACCA. So there's a lot of options for commerce students if they want to pursue CA also. You can be a Chartered Banker Institute. You can go to SEMA, which is your management accounts. You can go to Chartered Alternate Investment Analyst. This is more specialized into alternate investment, which I can say companies that are trading in commodities. So they can pursue a CAIA and get more specialized in your investment analyst. Then there is Institute of Risk Management and Faculty of Actuaries. IFOA is a UK body and Society of Actuaries is a US body. So you have plethora of options if you want to do even one line actuary or CA. You can do with different routes. You can take up different routes to reach the same goal.
So about the professional courses that you had, the previous uh, slide you had said. Okay. So what are the time duration for that? No, the before side. One more slide.
This slide, right?
Professional courses earlier to this.
This one?
Yes. Is there any
Okay.
time duration or it's again same like CA until you complete all you clear all the exams?
Yeah, so it's similar to CA. You have different number of papers and different levels in each of these professional courses. Like I can tell you in actuary, if you're doing from Institute of Actuaries of India, you have 15 papers, 15 to 16 papers to complete. And then if you're doing from the US body, which is Society of Actuaries, then you have 7 papers to complete. And the good thing about these professional courses is that they are flexible. They do not have a timeline that you have to complete it in so many years. Okay, again depends upon your capability. You can become a CA in 3 years, you can become a CA in 5 years. So similarly, for CFA or actuary or CFP, everything applies the same. There is no particular timeline in which you have to complete the particular course.
Okay. There's
So,
again a question.
yeah,
So, ma'am,
are
can
there
you
any more questions?
yeah, can you tell us will there be any certain commerce fields that will be one second. Can you tell us will there be any certain commerce fields that will become obsolete in the near future because of automatization and cause that what study should be relevant at least for 30 years? Rohit, can you just unmute yourself and ask?
Yeah. So what I'm asking is, will there be any commerce fields that will be automized in the future and become obsolete? Because a lot of fields right now are like going under through like automation, right? Like robots are like taking over jobs and stuff. And I'm hearing this about like commerce jobs as well. Like people are saying accounting jobs are going towards robots and computers. So will there be any fields that won't be relevant in the near future after like 10 years from now?
Not in the near future. Nothing will become obsolete. It will take at least 30, 40 years. And I'm sure by that time you will be completing and you will be retiring. So you should make the best out of what is coming right now, whatever changes. And yes, it is very important to actually be able to change and adapt, you know, to what's coming new. Even if there is automation, you will still require people to take care of that automation, right? And you're right, like there are some careers which are going down. The demand is coming down because of automation. One such career I can tell you is of underwriting. Underwriters, they're becoming more automated, and the risk that they are supposed to take is becoming automated. So but there are still underwriters who have a specialized job that cannot be automated. So It will still take time. It's not in the near 10 futures. I don't think so.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Rohit, also what I feel, a human brain is a human brain always. A basic things or something which has to be repeated can be automatized. Uh, where you need thinking and a decision power, the superpower that we have that cannot go anywhere. That's what I feel. Am I right, Sanjana?
Yeah, it is there, but just I mean, he's also right, because there are some places the demand is going down. Like even if in insurance, I feel that automation is coming and digitalization is happening. So a lot of things are becoming digital, but still we are required to facilitate those digital platforms. I am also working on this social selling project, which is becoming digital selling. So but they still need our expertise to make that work.
Okay.
So it's not going to happen so soon.
The advanced thing can never be, digitalized. That
Yes, so that's what you have to adapt. You have to know what is coming next. So that's what I do. Like digital marketing is not my forte, but have some knowledge about that, what is social selling, and all these things you should keep yourself up to date with, so you will not be obsolete.
okay. There's a question here. There is asking, is there any disadvantage in changing from PCMB, that is science, to commerce?
No, no, not at all. A lot of science students take up BCom as well. There might be some science students who want to be entrepreneurs, or they have some different idea. Maybe they also do not want to take up a career in engineering or become a doctor. And definitely you can take up any course. Even a science students can take up any course. A lot of people in BCom are definitely science students. So there is no disadvantage in doing a BCom honors.
I usually advise my students, if you're not understanding what to do, and you are good at studies, do take science, and after 12th you can decide.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Hi Sanjana, good evening. This is Lalit. I
Good
have one
evening.
question, probably which will help everyone. See, all these commerce students, they definitely aim for BCom. Nevertheless, now the stream has come called BBA, Bachelor
Yeah.
of Business Administration, which all these even coaching institutes, Career Launcher and all those things, they also keep on giving some guideline, and their courses are inclined towards these BBA courses. In
Yeah.
fact, they are more focused on integrated program management, which is basically BBA plus 2-year MBA, which is called integrated program management from IIMs. So
Yeah.
what should be the preferred choice for a student from the BCom stream, whether it should be the BCom course, which is the base for the commerce, or he should go for BBA courses being offered from institutes, say Christ or whatever it is. So preference over BCom versus BBA, I just want to understand.
Yes. So my personal opinion is that if you're getting a BCom honors in a good college, say Christ University or Delhi University, you should definitely go and pursue a BCom honors. But then again, if you're getting, choice of college is also very important, because that will determine your starting point in your career. So when you're getting BCom honors in a not so good college, then definitely you can opt for a BBA course or an integrated course, like the IIM are also giving. Indore specifically, I think IIM Indore is having a 5-year integrated course. They're doing BBA plus MBA. So definitely that is good. But if you're doing the traditional way of taking up BCom honors, having some experience and then doing an MBA, I think that is the best case scenario and the best way to move forward in your career also.
So you are saying if we get a good college, definitely IPM is the best option. Otherwise, better focus on the BCom, the traditional route, and then top up
Yes,
with whatever additional top ups are come, whether
yes,
whatever you can, and then we
yes.
can. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Sanjana, you can go
Any
ahead.
other questions?
No,
Okay,
we'll take it later.
oh, sure. So these are some of the after graduation, these are some of the careers that you can expect while just graduating. You can be an account executive, you can be an accountant, actuary, investment banker. So I've just giving them a, wide perspective to understand like some people think like what will I do after doing BCom. I don't understand. So these are some of the careers that you can expect. Okay. And and I want to tell you that when you're choosing a college, it's very important to see the placements of that college. So the placement statistics are very important. So might be BCom in one college the placements are good, but then in another college the placements might not be good. So your starting point compromises. So I think that's one other advice that I would give to all the students to go through the placements of all the colleges that they are looking at. And if there is no placement self, please do not join that college. Because your placement is you're studying and working for money, right? Ultimately you want to join a good company. So if you're putting so much of hard work and you're not getting anywhere, then it's a big question mark.
Yeah, I also always suggest my students, keep a short-term goals. When you are in 10th, your goal should be getting the best marks in 10th board. When you finish, then you can, you choose either of the streams. Then your best marks in the 12th board should be a short-term goal. Then later on, you can think. And many times, they say, "Ki, I like this subject, I don't like that subject." It is always, if you want to pursue any stream, you
Yeah.
have to do something you don't like also, because the main results, the board results matter. So for everyone, you can keep this, do a study, keep this aside. The first focus should be best results and in the boards, so that you get a best college. Best college always remains in your resume. The good friends, the exposure that you get, that is one time in life. Please don't miss that. And whenever you have that opportunity, take it. Because opportunities look smaller while coming and they look bigger while going. And when after you meet your friends after so many years, he has done from this college, that college, then you feel ki thoda sa aur pad leta, main kar leta. So don't lose that. Always,
Yeah,
all these names found super cool: investment banker, business analyst. So get into good colleges, and everyone, they are capable. Only a little bit of laziness you overcome, and you are there. That's what I feel.
definitely. So I've compiled the best universities in India for commerce students. So University of Delhi, definitely the North Campus. There are a lot of colleges like Kirorimal College, Hindu College. You have St. Stephen's, and the best college is of course Sri Ram College of Commerce, and you have Hansraj College. So these are some of the colleges in Delhi University that you should aim for. SRCC is the best college for BCom or economics honors. So if you're getting 98 or 99%, then definitely you can join SRCC. But don't be disheartened if you're not getting 98 or 99%. Even if you're scoring above 90, you have a good chance of getting into one of the good colleges in Delhi University. So similarly, Christ University in Bangalore is the first choice for all students in Bangalore. They want to study in Christ University. A lot of my friends went to Christ University, and there is no entrance exam for these two universities. You just have, for your Delhi University, it's just your marks. Christ University takes interview for you, and Symbiosis University in Pune, there is an entrance exam, they have a GD discussion, they also have interview session. So if you're preparing to go to Symbiosis University, start preparing for your group discussion, your entrance, and these competitive exams. Narsi Munji also has an entrance exam. If you want to go into fashion technology, you want to, and it's not just people who are art related who have to go to National Institute of Fashion Technology. Even marketing, digital marketing people are pursuing fashion communication course in NIFT, New Delhi. So, and they are very rewarding careers. So there is an entry exam for NIFT also. Then you have MIT University in Noida, you have Bangalore University, then Manipal, IIM's 5-year integrated program, like we just spoke about. Then National Law University for lawyers who want to become lawyers, they have to give the CLAT exam. So you will have to start preparing for CLAT. OP Jindal Global University is also for LLB or law. There is no entrance for OP Jindal Global University. So these are some of the best universities in India. I will also come to some universities that you can target if you do not want to move out of Bangalore. Then what are the good universities that you can target in Bangalore? Any questions on this?
You remember the IIM integrated course? I think Tejas went for IIM, isn't it? He was a brilliant
Yes.
student with brilliant logic, and he was so always he used to do fun in class and all, and he went to IIM.
Yeah,
Okay, that's great.
exactly. So colleges that you have in Bangalore, definitely the top choice for everyone is Christ University. But if you're not able to get into Christ University, don't be disheartened. There are other good colleges also. You have St. Joseph's College of Commerce, Christu Jayanti College, Jain University. Mount Carmel College is only girls' college, and it's a very good college. So you have Presidency University, MS Ramaiah College of Arts, Science and Commerce, the Oxford College of Business Management. So these are some of the colleges that you can target. So always have a backup plan. Do not just aim 2-3 colleges. Have a backup plan and know what the entry requirements are for at least 10 to 15 colleges.
Okay,
Do
thank
you have
you.
any questions regarding this?
The questions we'll take later because we also have Supti
Okay.
with us. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any more this thing for you?
Yeah, just the last slide, I would like to talk about the soft skills that people should, on the basis of the soft skills that you actually have, people identify themselves as extroverts or introverts. So there are two types of working environments that you will find when you will enter the corporate world. You will find a 9 to 5 job, which is more like a technical job. You will need a subject knowledge, presentation skills. You need continued on-job training. You should have a people-pleasing personality. You have to learn some programming languages if you have to be up to date and have some software proficiency. So looking at these soft skills and these skills that you require, you can make a decision on what exactly you want to do in future. So for me, I wanted to have a non-technical job, and that's one of the reasons I did not take up actuary as a career. So talking about the non-technical jobs, you have sales and marketing, and you have entrepreneurship. So they are non-technical jobs. They require flexible working hours. Does not mean you're working only 2-3 hours, but you're working 24/7. And you need great communication skills. You need the ability to handle pressure. There is a lot of pressure if you're working in a non-technical job. You have a lot of target to achieve. Networking is required. So if you're an extrovert person, you like meeting people, so you can think of taking a non-technical job if that's the kind of life you look for yourself. There is a lot of scope of earning money in a non-technical job as well. So it's not like you only have to do a technical job and be confined in an office. You can explore also. So that's about it. You have any questions, we can ask and have a discussion later. So thank you.
We can just take quick 2 questions over here and then we can go ahead with Supti. Any quick questions are there? We can go ahead. Okay. So here with us, we have Supti Karmakar. So Supti Karmakar is a certified career coach and she is also an educator. She has done masters in human resource management. She is a certified special educator and also a IB certified teacher, UCLA certified global career counselor, and also she has 10 years plus experience in providing career counseling for school and college students. It's awesome to have you, Supti, over here. You can take over.
Thank you, Sneha. Thanks a lot. And it was a wonderful session by Sanjana. I mean, for us also, it's wonderful to listen to students who have, their personal experiences, how they share with their peers and their juniors. So that's really wonderful, because that's an insider's knowledge that you are getting through Sanjana. All right.
Thank you.
Yes. So can I share my screen, Sneha?
Yes, you can share. And just check it's set. Are you able to share?
Let me just check.
Okay.
Is it coming now?
No.
Okay, let me just see. Okay. Is it visible? Is it visible?
But can you try now? It's not visible. Can you try now again?
Okay, okay. One second. Let me just see.
You click on that share screen.
Yeah.
Sanjana, talking with you, I felt I can bring many more students. You all have excelled in everything that they have done. So this will be a super discussion here.
Definitely, I think people can learn from our experiences. The mistakes that we have made can be beneficial to the students who are trying to come up with their career. So, professional course is something that I have just started myself. I'm doing a CII course. So, you should definitely start early if you want to progress faster. We can see your screen now.
You can? Okay, thank God. Okay, so let's start with commerce after 12th. Now, first of all, I was focusing at after 12th commerce, but looking at the discussion, I would like to tell one thing, that whether it's commerce or arts or science, whatever, the stream of your choice is most important. Don't just go by things like, that, okay, the highest graders, as I think Sanjana was also saying, and, your ma'am, your teachers, Neha was also saying that many of the students who had varied kinds of, personalities, but they excelled in their, academics, they have also chosen, subjects like commerce, humanities, because it's ultimately where your interest, where your aptitude, strengths, and weaknesses lie. Okay, because that is extremely important for you to understand at around this 10th or so, where is your actually strength, weakness, what is your aptitude like, what is your personality like. So accordingly you should choose a subject. Okay, so we do certain kinds of psychometric assessments, okay, which are meant to understand you better, understand your aptitude, where your strengths lie, where your weaknesses lie, because you are an individual. You are not like your, you might look like your father or your mother or your, sibling, but your personality is totally different. Your aptitude is totally different. So it's very important that you understand that at this juncture before making any big decision, actually, especially after 12th. It's very important that you, because now education is, first of all, you have to spend time on it. Secondly, you have to spend money on it. Okay, so it is important that you go towards a direction that is complementing you. Okay, so that's your commerce. Okay, so if you have chosen commerce, or if you think commerce is your domain, then let's see, as Sanjana has given us an idea, that after commerce generally students go in for accounting or economics, finance, management, marketing, law, and, so on and so forth. After that, again, for post-graduation, people do go for, IAS, or, they can go in for, again, MBAs and, CAs and your CFAs. Okay, I mean, opportunities are endless. Okay, few of the other course options, which has, again, Sanjana has also briefed us. Just I wanted to point it out, like data science, economics, looking at the situation currently, looking at the market, we do everything online generally. Just look at the lockdown. We were still surviving thanks to technology. So yes, data science, economics, business, IT, business analytics, I think all these things, Sneha can give you a better idea during Q&A sessions. Then, real estate management, econometrics, business journalism, e-commerce, we all know, digital marketing, civil services. Civil services has always been there. I just wanted to point out, this is also one of the career options that you can look into, you can explore. It's good that you spend some time exploring what all options are available, because more you explore, more knowledge you will gain, and that's always helpful for making a career decision or a career choice. Now, when we say where to study, okay, so we understand so many things we can study, but where to study, we come to India or abroad, okay? So these are the two options that we have. So India, we all know, because it is our home, it is our home, it is affordable, it has a good quality of education, and it is climbing the ladders when it comes to your rankings, all right? But so we all know about India, but we also know we have a huge, number of bright students here in our country. So the competition to get admission in any good college is extremely high, okay? Because lots of students are getting, I mean, so many bright students, so they do get higher marks and higher scores. So it becomes difficult for, and we have only, I think if we calculate, I think we have 343 universities. And out of that, I think 17,000 colleges. And look at the number of seats each college will have and how many students are passing every year. Okay, so sometimes, yes, students do think of studying abroad. One is, they have the option to study abroad. Second is, yes, it is difficult to, even though you are bright, extremely bright, it is, of course, a chance that you get a seat in one of the premier institutes here in our country. Okay, so now if we study abroad, if we think of studying abroad, why study abroad, right? So first is the experience of living internationally. It goes down well with the employers. Now, because it gives us or gives the employer that idea that, okay, this student would be having a greater adaptability. Okay, he has experienced dealing with different kinds of people. Okay, so because you get to meet a wider range of people. I think even Sanjana would be agreeing to it. She's staying in Dubai. The number of kinds of people, multicultural people, you get to know, you get to gain a global perspective, a global mindset. Okay, then of course, studying and living abroad are two different things. When you are living abroad, you need to be independent. Okay, you are out of your home comforts, so that gives you an additional boost of confidence. Also, you become more self-reliant, right? And again, you have wider, when you have friendships, we all agree the friends we made during our colleges, if you are, if you have a habit of keeping touch, those friends are for keeps. They are for your lifetime. Okay, so you make wider global connections when you are all experiencing the same things. People are studying together. They are also getting global global exposure. You are also getting global exposure, so that kind of connect is very deep. So you tend to make wider global connections. Then when it comes to of course we become independent and responsible, and to top it all, you get an unforgettable experience that you cannot compare with anything. The kind of problems that you solve, the kind of education facilities that you get, the kind of different learning styles you understand, the whole geography, the whole experience is unforgettable. So it gives you an immense amount of boost of confidence, and it makes you independent and a good candidate for any employment. All right. Of course, and then you get international job prospects. I forgot to mention that, because their placement cells, you will be getting companies. Obviously, whatever will come in on your resume, it will be all international. So you would be dealing in those international organizations. Again, you will be dealing with people from different nationalities, problems of a higher grades, of different kind of dynamics. Okay, so of course, studying abroad is beneficial in these different ways. Now, which are the best destinations abroad for commerce? See, I have mentioned only the top few. Of course, there are many other countries, okay, but I have just mentioned in, basically what are the most popularly chosen, and few of the places which people don't keep in mind while choosing their foreign destination. Okay, so one is Australia, Canada, Germany, USA, New Zealand, Singapore, and UK. Now, let me tell you about a brief about few of these universities. Okay, so in Australia, we have one of our best, we have few of our best universities, like Monash University, then you have University of Adelaide, then Sydney. Okay, so we have I can give you a list of and you can in fact search in the web for let me see if I have any. Yes, I have a slide. Okay, on the top universities of Australia. But why to study in Australia? Just few basic points. One is diversity. Second is the language spoken there. So the language is, all the medium of education would be English. Then, of course, the foreign international students get to work, while they're studying. So it will be around, say, 20 hours. I think 40 hours per 2 weeks they can work. Okay, then there is a good work-life balance, and also there is a post-study stay permit can go up to 2 years, and of course the weather. Then comes Germany. Now Germany has few of the public universities because of its strong economy. The public universities you can study in Germany for almost for free. Okay, so you can study there, just your living cost would be there, but you can study for free in Germany, which has high infrastructure, very high quality of education. If you are open to different cultures, you are open to learning, certain, I mean, even though they have, they teach in English medium, still I always suggest your students to get little bit of knowledge of German, because you need to live in that country, you need to deal with people, so of course a little bit of language helps. Okay, then comes of course you have internationally recognized your degrees there, and international students can stay for additional 18 months to seek work. Okay, then comes I talk about your US. US, everyone knows. So I'm not talking too much about US. Of course, academic excellence is there. Then flexible education system. So the majors, you can even select your majors by end of your second year. So you get to study plethora of subjects, and then you can, you can select your majors later. Okay, so that you are sure about the interest of the subject that you are choosing for your career. Then, of course, cultural diversity is unparalleled. And then international students can work again for 20 hours per week and 40 hours, during their breaks. And then again for post-study, you can take your, OPT extension and can work for one more year. Okay. And then I'll talk about Canada. Canada is affordable when we compare it to US, though they have similar pattern of education, but Canada is much, affordable when we compare it to US. Okay, and then of course, internationally recognized degrees. International students can work there while study 20 hours per week. And then multicultural, of course, and there is a huge number of Indian population there. And you have an option for co-op. Co-op is when you can study and work. You get to work into your related fields and you get paid for it. So you get an early advantage of, gaining your education related experience. Okay, so, and it again helps you in your studies also. Because you are able to earn that much. Then post-study stay permit can go up to 3 years. Then I will talk about Singapore. Singapore has extremely high quality of education and again affordable when we compare to UK and US and Australia. But again, in Singapore, living cost is high. All right, but if you plan to travel in and out, one is psychologically it is closer, and traveling to and fro from Singapore is also, if you include that cost also, everything in every way it is affordable, much affordable than US, UK and your Australia. Of course, multicultural and international students can work part-time, though maximum 16 hours a week is allowed. Okay, and of course it is a safe environment and long-term visit pass is also allowed. Then we'll talk about UK. UK's academic reputation is like centuries old. Multicultural, the degrees are shorter compared to US. You can get your graduation in 3 years, whereas in US it's generally 4 years. And then of course you have travel connectivity is very good. You can travel throughout your Europe very easily. And of course, you have the world's largest library, that's Queen's Library. And post-study stay permit can go up to 2 years. Then again, New Zealand. New Zealand is internationally, it gives you internationally recognized degrees. It is influenced by UK education system. So it has again excellent pedagogy. Then international students can work while they study 20 hours per week and full time during their breaks. And it is safe and peaceful, and bachelor's degrees and above will get a 3 years open work visa. All right. Now, out of this, where should you study? Now, how to find out, where you would like to study? One thing is, first, you should understand, you should be clear about the course that you want to pursue. Okay, because some courses would be good in some country, its employability is higher in certain kinds of countries. Okay, so those things you have to understand. First, be clear about what course you want to pursue. Then what is the scope of your selected course in your desired destination? All right, so that is again important. I think I have told you. Then comes, do you fulfill the entry requirements? See, every country has certain kinds of requirements, and colleges have certain requirements. So you should be checking whether you fulfill all the requirements or not. Okay, so how much will it cost to study in your desired destination? Now, desired destination, the cost here is not just the study cost, the cost also includes the living cost. Okay, so that is very important. What is the whole scenario in terms of cost in any destination, because it's important that we are clear about it. Otherwise, we face unnecessary disappointments later on. Okay. Now, does your destination offer employment opportunities? Of course, career opportunities are important. That is why we are, looking to spend so much in an abroad education. So it is important that you get your return of investment. So you should look at the placements that happen and the employment opportunity in that country. And also with that degree which you get from that country, whether it is, whether it works in other countries also or not. Okay. Now, what are the student visa requirements and policies? Of course, these things you have to, check before you choose your country. Okay. And then what are the languages spoken, the culture? Because like in Germany, if you go and have no clue about German, but you have a knack of the language, you will pick up and probably you can, but it is difficult if you don't have any idea about the language and you just go there, so daily living becomes difficult. So it is important that you understand what kind of languages are used in that country, and the culture, because culture is again important. How women are treated, how certain kind of ethnicity, people from different ethnicity are they protected or not? So it is important to understand these kind of things before we make a decision about our, destination. Then comes, what's the climate like? It might sound very trivial, but it is very important to understand what kind of climate a country has, because you would be staying there for a longer time. I'm talking about undergraduate courses. So it can sometimes be, you love out here in India, you love the heat, you love the sun, but you select a Nordic country where, half the time there is no sun. You can go through different kind of psychological, issues because of climate. So climate is very important when you are choosing your country. Then urban or rural. See, generally the universities which are in urban, settlements would be more expensive because it has, the kind of facilities that it provides, and the way, the kind of recreation activities are there. Everything is much higher there. But again, in rural environment, you will be getting more peace of mind, because sometimes urban environment can be overwhelming for few of the students. So you need to understand what kind of an environment would suit you. So before making decision, please look into these kind of these questions, whether you are able to answer these questions, whether you are able to satisfy yourself by answering these questions, then only go and make a decision regarding a country. So I have mentioned here a couple of universities which are, other than the popularly known university, these are also topmost universities in these countries, like Victoria University, Edith Cowan, the University of Sydney in Australia. You guys can, take a screenshot, or you can explore these colleges. Canada, of course, Toronto, McGill, Alberta, Germany, Berlin, GISMA, Frankfurt, INSEAD in Singapore, James Cook. See, other than your NUS and all, again, we all know these universities. So I have mentioned few other universities here. Then University of Canterbury, Victoria, Auckland in New Zealand. UK has, of course, Oxford is there, Imperial College, Lancaster. Then okay, so these are the lists of universities. Now, intakes. Now, all these, when we are talking about foreign admissions abroad, admissions abroad, intakes are again different. One is college to college, but again, country to country, it differs. Okay, so generally what you will see is Canada and US follow the same kind of pattern. So fall, winter, summer. So these are the intakes when they take admissions. All right. And generally, people have to apply. You get a window for application for these intakes. You get a window to apply for, say, fall, to apply for winter. So what I have done is I have you can take a screenshot if possible, because I have mentioned here, like, fall in Canada would be the primary intake. Okay, secondary intake means second option is the winter intake, and the least preferred, because you won't get many courses during the least preferred intake time, that is the summer intake time. Okay, then again, Australia has in February, July, November. Okay, Singapore has August, February, though you have private institutes, they have multiple intakes during certain months. Okay, same with New Zealand. It has a few universities which takes intakes during September and November also. Okay, so all right, so after you say get admission in these places, you would be keen on knowing what are the careers. So careers, already Sanjana has told you different careers which are you know, in for the commerce students. One thing I would tell you about these intakes is that you have to be very mindful about the deadlines. Okay, so mark your deadlines, application deadlines, in huge letters on your calendars. Okay, because if you miss one deadline, then the next intake for your desired country would be again, you know, a couple of months later. So you lose couple of months. So it is important that you you know, mark the deadlines properly. Okay, and then the tests involved, again, to in general, I'll give an idea. In general, the tests involved to apply for foreign universities. First is your GPA, that is important. Then, of course, your tests will be SAT or ACT. ACT specifically for American colleges, SAT, ACT, both are acceptable in Canada and US. And of course, you have your IELTS, TOEFL, you know, and then for application, you also need your SOPs and essays and your letter of recommendation letters from your teachers or your mentors. Okay. All right. So documents required for student visa in general are the valid passport, then your you know, acceptance letter, then application for the fee payment, and your non-immigrant visa application, your photographs, then academic your academic documents like your transcripts, diplomas or degrees, and certificates, then your evidence that you have sufficient funds to maintain your living expenses throughout the period of your stay in US. So evidence that you will leave US once you have completed US or any other country, that you would be leaving once you finish your course or finish your study. Okay. Now, in brief, I'll just give you a picture of the different, courses which are there, with different careers which are there. International, I mean, I have just few of the international careers which are available right now. Just few, I think most of them are covered by Sanjana. So yeah, international marketing manager, you have product management, you have financial analysts, then research and analysts, logistics managers, business journalists, then business development manager, economists, compliance specialists, and human resource managers, business analytics managers, entrepreneurs, international brand managers, retail specialists. Now let's come to, let's come to the applications and all. Now what happens is, whether it's in India or abroad, the competition is huge. In India, across top Indian colleges, 70 students compete for one college seat, okay, on an average. Now, so many students get 90% and above. Now, how to get admission, how to make your profile stand out? Put yourself in the shoes of an admission officer, okay, who gets so many profiles in front of him, say 10 of, I think hundreds of them are above 90%. In universities like DU, Christ, University, all these places, how does a admission officer select someone and reject someone? Okay, now it is important that, and okay, here I'm just talking about India. You think of the premier colleges abroad, you get applications from around 100 and I don't know, 180 countries, 185 countries, all bright students. Now what happens there? They look into the profile, the application of the student, how the student's profile stands out. Okay, I'll show you one picture. Okay, now here one student has say 94%, the other student has 90%. Okay, so I have given an example of Akash and Priya. Both of them are brilliant students. Look at their profile and think you are the admission officer. Okay, so you are sitting at say Harvard, or you are sitting at Christ University. You are taking a personal interview of Akash and Priya. Whom do you think, who will have more things to share, who will have a better personality, and whom will you select? I think it is clear here. Akash has, though his grades are, he has got 90% and Priya has 94%. Okay, grades are super important, but not just grades are important. Now with grades, especially if you are looking at universities like where you have to give a personal interview, where you have to give you have to write an SOP, you have to write an essay, you have to write about your experiences. So it is important that you start working on your profiles. Okay, your profile includes not just your academic, but why you are passionate about a certain subject that you are choosing. Okay, and what all have you done to showcase your interest in that certain subject. Okay, so a couple of things to keep in mind while you are developing your profile. Of course, academic honors, number one. All right, then how you have used your time, like summer enrichment programs are there, so different kinds of programs are available. How you have used these programs to enrich yourself, to improve yourself and develop yourself. Stream based achievements, of course, it can be your Olympiads or all those achievements that you have got. Then your work experience, volunteer activities. You might have done some kind of internships, okay, to understand this field more or to contribute to the society, using the field of your choice. So those are important, okay. Co-curricular achievements. What are your co-curricular achievements? Okay, any university, whether, I was seeing someone was asking about Ashoka, so Ashoka and all these, liberal arts colleges where they look at people with a whole rounded personality, and for this kind of personality, it's not just academic. They want to know more about you. What are the dimensions you have? Because you might be learning music. What have you done in music? How many years have you? It's not just your certificates. What matters is how much time you have given, how much of commitment you have given towards the hobbies that you have. Okay. And extracurricular activities, yes, again, more than your curriculum, what are the extracurricular activities and how you have pursued those extracurricular activities. It can be, it can be just it can be your writing. You might start a writing club. You can start writing blogs. You might be good at photography. You can make a photography club in your school, okay, or be a part of that. Then comes special skills. So people, few of them might be learning languages. Few of you might be learning some kind of coding. Okay. So these are special skills. Universities do look at these kind of special skills because, of course, it is always, see, all these skills make a class. Once one admission officer from Harvard had said that if when one of my colleagues had asked, what do you look at a student or look at a profile when you are selecting a profile or rejecting a profile? So he said that a classroom is like, imagine it's like a party. Okay, in a party, you won't enjoy having only one kind of personality, in the whole party. Then there won't be any fun. So in a classroom, there has to be people from different kinds of, who have different unique personalities. If everyone is a Xerox copy of each other, then there is no exchange of, ideas. There is no exchange of knowledge. Okay, so yes, bring out your special skills. Okay, your unique hobbies and interests. You can be, into say coin collection. You can be into stamp collection, or something unique to you. Please document these things. This will help you in building your profile for not just for your college admissions, for college admissions, yes, for your personal interviews, for writing your essays, for your SOPs and everything, but it also develops your personality. Okay, so that is important. Yes, and these things all are important because job market demands can rapidly change. We all know that. Okay, so for that, when you have time now, you guys are younger, it is good time that you work on your 21st century skills so that you are adaptable for the new changes which might come, which might not come, but again, change is inevitable. So it's better that you prepare yourself. So here I have listed a couple of 21st century skills which employers look into their employees. When they are trying to hire now, they look into these qualities, and in fact colleges are trying to develop these qualities into their students so that they are more employable and they are more adaptable for the future, and they are future ready, basically. So that's it. Thank you. And now I think we can take questions. Sneha.
You said about the profile building,
Yes.
being good at extracurricular activities, all-rounder, it's always best. But if you want to go professional, you have the aim of going abroad. So this profile building, it has to start from which grade actually? From where, when you have to be very serious with your admissions and start profile building?
See, profile building, the best stage is actually they say from 8th, but I say 9th because 8th you are too blank. Okay. From 9th, you have certain ideas about the subjects, and you have the time as well as intention. Both you have, because 12th we generally try to keep it a bit free so that they are focused only towards their academic needs. Before that, so 9th, 10th, 11th are the best time, so that you can space out your activities, you can develop yourself. It becomes, see, it is never too late, but again, earlier the better. So earliest, yeah, 9th grade is the best time.
Okay, that's great. Rohit, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Rohit, are you there?
I heard that the college counselors want the classrooms to be well-rounded, and they want the students to be really sharp at what they do. Like, they don't want well-rounded students, but they want students that are really, really good at one particular thing. And they'll pick students like that and build a well-rounded classroom so that there's there's more networking and like other stuff happening among the students.
uh yeah, can I have your name again, please?
My name is Rohit.
Rohit, yeah. Rohit, see, I don't know. See, what college are you talking about? Are you talking about engineering or, yes, tell me.
Commerce.
Okay. See, of course, as I told you, academics is important. All right. Academics is the first important. If you don't have that academics part, I mean, certain scores you won't, that's your GPA, they won't even look into the profile. Okay. But what is the uniqueness that you bring in? Okay. Now, how will they select? If you also have, say, 98%, the other student also has 98%. Now, on what basis will they select? They have not yet taken your interview. Okay. They have to, you have these two applications. What will you select? A person who has, he is academically sharp, but at the same time has pursued certain kinds of, internships, has done certain, of course, for these internships, for these activities, you need to have some passion towards the subject. Otherwise, you won't be doing it. So these subjects, the passion you have to show in your applications. How will you show if you don't do any such activities? So, when we are building a profile, we will suggest, or when you go to a counselor, the counselor will tell you that, okay, this is the course you are planning to do, you are planning to pursue. These are certain kinds of, activities that you can look into. These activities will help you in building your profile stronger. Okay, you already have the academic honors, but you might be doing other things also. You might have done some little bit of coding, but you just, little bit of language, you just left it. Okay, but these are all part of you. Please showcase all these things. Okay, because this makes you different from the other 98%, the other child who has 98%. Okay, so that's what is my point.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Spandana, you had a question.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask how college admissions have been affected by COVID-19. Abroad admissions.
See, college admissions have, SAT and all has become optional. So when that becomes optional, then again, though they have made it optional, I still see my students still taking up SAT courses and all that, because, it is optional. It is not, removed. Okay, so people still are taking all these preparations and all that. And of course, it has become all the more important to show your profile, because most of the, your exams have been eliminated, or because of the COVID and the pandemic, they are more focusing on your grade, your formative assessments, your summative, rather than your summative assessment. So more of your formative assessments. So here your profile becomes all the more important. What other things you have done during this pandemic? Because okay, they are now demanding more. Why? Because students are sitting at home online, through say Coursera, through edX. There are so many courses available for free, for even if you have to pay something, or if you want to go for free, you have so many options available in front of you. What have you done with that? What have you done with the options? How can you showcase your passion for your subject? Okay, so it is all the more important that you build your profile now stronger, because your the exams have been either postponed or cancelled, all over the world, and you are again competing with students not just from your country. You are competing with excellent students from all across the globe. Yeah, did that help you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Vishal has a question. Is investment banker a technical job? I think
No, ma'am. My question is basically, if, could you just explain me how the investment banking at the area over there, how it works, and what it takes to be an investment banker?
Yeah, ma'am. So investment banker is definitely not a technical job, and you can take up certain, like I had shared, you can take up chartered banking also, and you can pursue these professional courses. You can also do the bank PO, which is very basic, and then move forward to an investment banking position. Or you can directly take up your chartered investment banker professional course and then get into the investment banking. It is a client facing role. It is a very high rewarding and high paying job. And it is not a technical course. You are client facing, so you need good communication skills. You would be target driven. So that's how an investment banker role is.
Does it demand lots of, from us, like we have to spend 10 hours or 15 hours a day at certain points, and we have to exert ourselves?
Depending upon the companies and their work culture, you might need to put in some extra hours, but that is very temporary. It's not like every day you have to put in those extra hours. Initially, when you're growing your career, they might demand you to put in 10, 15 hours working towards your career.
So if I do an MBA, can I go to investment banking?
Definitely, MBA in finance will also help you get there.
Is the MBA, doing an MBA is the best option for investment banking?
Yes, it is one of the best options to get into investment banking, and having a chartered investment banker professional course also completed by you will also help you excel in that. So you have a lot of options. You just have to see which option will take you where. So investment banker is also a broad term. You have more specialized investment bankers. When you reach that stage, you'll understand that they are specializing in certain areas. So that's when you start taking up these professional courses. But definitely doing MBA finance initially to get into the investment banking is the best way forward.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
there was again a question from Spandana. Please, give some examples of technical jobs in commerce. I think you had shared a slide on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Spandana, this was answered. This was discussed. Technical jobs in commerce. Any other questions? I think all the questions are answered. If you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask.
ma'am, I just have another question. It's based on the college applications. So when you apply for colleges abroad, they usually have like either like conditional offer or like permanent offer and stuff like that. So is the COVID-19 like changing any of this, like the number of offers given out that are conditional or unconditional?
No, 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 nothing has changed. In fact, the competition has become higher. So that's what we were wondering, actually. So it's becoming tougher, actually, the competition. So I guess no, nothing has changed in that front, other than your SAT and all. Nothing else has changed. And of course, yeah, um, a lot of video interviews happen. So that's it. These are the two basic changes. Nothing else.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think
So
we are.
the main job opportunity after an MBA finance is investment banking. Or what are the main job opportunities?
You can become a business analyst, you can go into financial analyst, you can be an investment banker, you can go into any other financial field, also accountancy, you can take a managerial role. So there are a lot of options actually after doing an MBA. That is why a lot of people opt for an MBA after they have completed 2 to 3 years of experience, just to make that jump to a managerial position or get into a financial position. So a lot of options are there.
Sanjana, is there a difference between, your MBA, you do it externally or you do after doing 1 or 2 years of job, then you pursue your MBA while
I
working?
feel that the maturity level that you have after graduation and that you have after completing 2 to 3 years of work experience makes all the difference. So you are able to make the best use of MBA when you have actually gained some experience. So the kind of personality development that you have, or the kind of understanding that you will have regarding your career, that will be very narrowed down for you. You will not be very confused as to what you want to get into if you have completed 2 to 3 years of work ex and then getting into MBA.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? I think we are done with it. Almost it is 2 hours. Okay. So thank you, Sanjana. Thank you, Supti. So it was a great session.
Yeah, it was wonderful, Sneha. One thing, if students sometimes they go back and then they think of some question or the other, they can always write to you, and then we can always answer them if they have any queries related to anything.
Okay. So always you can get in touch with us for any queries that you have. And I can get you all my students. They have gone into various fields. If you want any particular career, I can get my students and we can have a discussion over here like this.
Definitely, we can do that.
Okay. So students, thank you, students and parents, thank you for joining. It was a wonderful session. Now it's a time to deep dive into your academics, into your personality, understand your interest, and then take an informed decision. So thank you. It was a wonderful session. Thanks one and all.
Thank you all.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.